it's wet. After persistent but not spectacular rainfall so far this February, you can see we're going into flood down here at Sandford Mill. Already this field's underwater here, where the weir at Sandford Mill is too narrow and the water overflows and comes out onto this field here and then bypasses the weir, coming round and down towards the A12 over here. Already this field's flooded, and if you look up at the sky, there's a lot more to come by the look of it, so we'll see what happens. So as you can see in the field behind me, it's starting to flood, and this is the field that leads up towards the A12 embankment, which at the recent planning inquiry we argued is a major cause of flooding down here, because it prevents the floodwaters naturally spreading out along the floodplain onto Hammond's Farm and downriver. So it holds it back here, and as you can see it's already flooding, and there's still more rain on the way.
So that is not normal. That should be a dry field, should it?
Yeah, this is all usually dry. At the recent planning inquiry for the Stonebond development, we argued that the A12 is a major problem for flooding and should have been built with or should have been built on stilts so the water can move freely underneath it. But instead they've got one storm drain up this end which doesn't actually take water when it's flooding. So if we walked right over there now, and we did this in a previous flood, you see that all the water's pooling out in front of it, but it's not flowing into the storm drain, meaning it's completely useless. So yeah, we raised this issue at the planning inquiry, and it was even acknowledged by Stonebond's solicitor. He said, well, obviously that's going to be a problem, and in the decision from the planning inspector, he also acknowledged it. So we like to see something done about it now, because this is unnecessary and it's also unfair on the residents of these houses behind me, who are constantly subjected to the risk of flooding. Constantly subjected to the risk of flooding, and it's really unfair. Because obviously this area wouldn't have flooded like this before they built the A12. That is the principal cause of the flooding in this area. Prior to that, it could spread out all the way downriver. So it would take a huge amount of rainfall to actually flood like this, whereas now it takes far less.
Is it safe?
It's pretty bad, yeah.
Will it get worse?
Yeah. This is the worst I've seen it all the time I've lived here.
You live locally?
Yeah, just up the road.
Did you just come down to see what's like?
Yeah, I did a walk earlier. We went down by the A12 and down by the underpass.
Is it dry on the outside?
No, it's gone over there as well.
It's gone over there already, is it? Yeah, I think it's because it's been happening quite slowly over days.
Yeah, I've been chunked as well, gushing through there as well.
It looks like it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
That'd be interesting.
It's more interesting about all the houses they're going to build.
I've got to say something about the insanity of this barrier.
It looks sane to me.
Well, but look at this. It's got 4 bolts on it. So in order to put the barrier in, if you can get past the, what is that, 8 padlocks it's got on it? If you can get past the 8 padlocks, remove the 8 bolts, then you might be able to start slotting the 8 sections of it in one at a time. And who's going to do this?
I don't believe there's 8 bolts on it. There's 8 locks on it.
Yeah, look.
Go on, count them up.
Oh no, there's 1, 2, 3, no, must be not. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad. They can get through that at 2 o'clock in the morning, can't they?
At least 5 padlocks, right?
5 padlocks. Yeah.
5 padlocks.
5 padlocks.
And 8 bolts before you can actually start putting the barrier together.
Let's just check. Is there 8 bolts here?
Well, it's 4 on one side, 4 on the other. But how are you going to do that at 2 o'clock in the morning? And years ago.
And age isn't on your side, and it's dark.
Well, yeah, quite. But look at it.
Yeah.
Look at all the plans from the Environment Agency, right? So a lot of thought has gone into this. They've had to apply for planning applications. It's been a slow process. So why did nobody question that?
Because that's been put so that professionals who have got that professional key, that is a little sort of
I think that's just a hex. I don't.
hexadexa.
It's not a security
But
bolt.
not everybody has a hexadexa key, unless somebody in there has been given it to use.
Even so, how are you going to put all this together at 2 o'clock in the morning? And this can flood very, very quickly. There was a story back in 2000, right? It's like Graham and his kids were in the lounge, right? And they knew it was there was a flood risk and the water level was rising. So Graham was taking the television upstairs. This is what he told me. And while he was carrying the TV upstairs, suddenly there was 3 foot of water in the lounge, right? And his kids start screaming and the sofa's floating, right? So this can flood really, really quickly. So if that starts overnight because of heavy rainfall, you know, say it's been like this. Say you've had persistent rainfall for a week and the ground is saturated and the water level is already starting to rise. If tonight you got really heavy rainfall over the catchment, that water level will rise really, really quickly. And would you want to be dependent on the Environment Agency coming out to install it for your home to be safe? Of course you wouldn't. So that's just mental, and it's the I don't even know what the word is. I've never done it. Can't even get through, yeah?
I wouldn't try it. We just don't know how deep that is. Look at that.
I'm gonna hop over and go and have a look.
Okay.
Are you alright staying there, or
Now I'm coming over. Hold my hand, darling.
is it got a long step?
Oh dear. Woohoo! Oh wow! This has got to be seen. No wonder they build it that big.
I've got to get a video of this.
Oh, Chelm's flood! Chelm's flood!
Yeah. Get a video of this. Look at the transformation here. This is unrecognisable. Usually there's a bank down there, probably 3-4 foot down. where I go to fish sometimes, and you see the kids hanging out having fun, and you see their rope swing underwater down there where it's flooding.
Incredible. Let's come round here, Mike.
Dramatic transformation.
Come round. Look at this. I mean, what the?
So you've got two channels here. I don't know if you can see that. So there's one coming off from around there. So that's coming via the weir at Sandford Mill, and then there's this little one here, which is all the drainage ditches on the field come out here.
It had to happen after weeks and weeks of rain, daily rain.
But nothing spectacular, is it? It's
Nothing.
just persistent.
It's just been piddling
Just
down, that's all.
persistent rainfall, and this is what you get.
Right, carry on.
Let's see what it's like further up.
Which begs the question, why did they make the bridge this high? Almost as good as the Rusty Bridge to nowhere.
Oh, right, yeah, you can't get through here.
Unless you can walk on water.
So this, you can see this bit round the back of Sandford Mill towards Brook End is all totally flooded. So just as that bit by the cottages is starting to go underwater, but the footbridge is still exposed, this is already flooded. So just don't even try to walk through here, you won't get through. You just get stuck in the middle here. And if it's rising quickly, which it isn't today, otherwise we wouldn't have done this, but when it's rising quickly, you could easily get stuck in the middle.
Well, there's been a few people have had to be rescued from here, one involving a horse. Well, what about this? A bridge too
fast.
A bridge too fast. Let's just hear it swirling for a minute. Incredible. Right, okay boss, let's go.
If you look behind me here, we're looking across at the meads, and you can see the two fishing lakes. So there's a members lake there, private lake, and a public day ticket lake that anyone can use, which I often fish at. And in between, the field in between is flooding. And why is that happening? Well, the trees behind it, behind there you've got Sandford Mill, and at Sandford Mill there's a weir, and that weir is only about 10 metres wide, whereas if you compare that to the flood barrier up by the record office, that's about 25 metres wide. So it's less than half the width of the barrier upstream, even though it's exactly the same river. So consequently it's a bottleneck and it floods. That's one bottleneck, and then the even bigger bottleneck is further down at the A12. So this whole floodplain, the water flow is just really badly designed, right? Obviously that weir at Sandford Mill needs to be widened to actually allow the water through to stop it overflowing here, because as this comes round, and it's already flooded down by the cottages, right, you get a torrent of water flowing past those cottages, which increases the flood risk for the cottages, which just isn't fair. So because of poor infrastructure, poor thought and poor planning, we get this, and they really need to do better.
How will that be affected by homes being built all across here, all of Manor Farm, one huge estate? What will that do to the water flow down there?
It's all extra runoff, isn't it? It's like they're saying that they're going to build these suds down the bottom here by the road that goes through. But when you get a bad flood, right, the water comes up this far anyway. I mean, it's not far off of it already. Right, you can see the water coming up there, and it's only that road where they're going to put these suds. And the what capacity are those? So suds ponds, they're like dry ponds. They're ugly as anything, but serve a functional purpose. Actually, I'd rather they built wetlands than suds ponds, but that's another discussion. But the idea is that the volume of these is large enough so that it can take whatever rainfall flows off from this site. So when this is covered in concrete and tarmac, all of the runoff from here that flows downhill will end up in those suds ponds. That's the idea. But the volume of these is never dimensioned to take extreme rainfall, right? So if there's really heavy rainfall down here, they're just going to overflow, aren't they, and pour extra water into the floodplain.
So at the moment,
more water than it would do at the moment, because if you look below me, the ground is soggy, right?
So it soaks it all up.
The ground is soggy because this gets ploughed and tilled, so the ground's aerated, as it were, and the water soaks right down into the soil.
So this is a sponge, a giant sponge.
This is a sponge. And of course, plants consume water. They don't just. It's not just about the water soaking into the ground. They actually use the water, and that transpires up into the atmosphere, right, as it evaporates off of all of it.
So all these thousands of plants and the earth and all the substructure soaks it all up like a giant sponge.
Yeah.
But when you have flat concrete with drains draining off,
It's got
where?
nowhere to go. It's got nowhere to go, so it just runs off down there and pools.
Is that called surface water?
Yeah, everything. Surface water and runoff are essentially the same thing. So they're it's when it rains heavily, rather than the flooding that's caused by the rivers overflowing. Surface water is just the flooding that accumulates because of the topography of the land and because of the hard surfaces where it can't absorb. Like we get at the Army and Navy down there every other year, where not only does the water flow downhill and pool there, but because of the drainage system, if you go there when it's flooding, you can actually see the water bubbling up out of the drains, right, as it's all of the drainage leads downhill and it just comes up there, which is poor design, really.
So even if they built a dam, a 20-foot high dam across here, it would only lead to more flooding downstream or upstream.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens. In fact, that is one of the principal reasons why the stone bond development up by the Fox and Raven was rejected by the planning inspector, because if you build on a floodplain and you take a chunk out of the floodplain, then that obviously increases the flood risk elsewhere, because that water that's prevented from going onto that land is pushed elsewhere. So you're just moving the problem elsewhere. And when you're already at a tipping point, right, you're already at a point where the water gets so high, and this is only starting now. I mean, if it continues to rain tonight, or we get heavy rainfall, this could get really bad down here. I'm not sure what the weather forecast says, but there's a lot of grey to black cloud around, so we'll see what happens.